Why you don't try make it first person? Okay, I should stop starting my videos like this because my house is gonna get nuked or something. But anyways, I'm gonna be making my game first person. Of course, it's not gonna be that easy, because I want to see my body, or at least my hands, so to do that I'm gonna need to create something called a first person view model, which is just a fancy way of saying a floating pair of arms that follow the player wherever they go. So firstly I needed some arms, and I thought of using the arms of the R6 Roblox dummy, but unfortunately they just turned into normal bricks when I deleted the humanoid. So I opened up Blender and made this normal brick, but with smooth edges. Now that I got the hands, it was time to assemble the view model, and it was actually pretty easy. I just had to add a part that acts as the main part and weld the two hands to it. Now I just gotta make it follow the player, which was once again pretty easy. I just had to make sure that the position of the main part always matches the camera's position. And just like that, I had a very nice first person view model. Or did I? No, I did not, because it looks ugly as hell, and on top of that it's doing the Minecraft zombie pose, so I had to do something about that. So why not give it a cool weapon? So I brought back the spiky thing and made it even spikier and gave it some auto shade smooth. After that I adjusted the pose a little bit and it was looking a bit better, except it kinda looks like that these are just some robot hands because they don't move at all. So let's add some movement. I think the best thing to start with is swaying. Now, if you don't know what swaying is, it's kinda just swaying, but you see, making something like this requires stuff like scene, and that's kinda it. But what I'm trying to say here is that I'm not gonna bother with stuff like this because a YouTuber called Zara has a tutorial on it. Oh, come on now. Turns out I just switched these two thingies, but it should work fine now. The next thing I wanna add is head bobbing. Now, if you don't know what head bobbing is, it's kinda just head bobbing, which is also in the same tutorial, so less work for me. Now let's add some side movement. Now if you don't know what side movement is, it's kinda just side movement. And guess what, it was also in the same tutorial, but it was a bit glitchy, so I had to touch it up a little bit. But I'm still not seeing enough movement, so let's add some cool animations. Except I couldn't start animating yet, because first I had to rig the character, and if you don't know what rigging is, it's kinda just rigging, which I can do by adding a humanoid root part to the model and giving it some motor 6Ds. I wanna add new hands anyways, and after that it should work fine. And now comes the tricky part, because I have to get it into Blender. So to export it I used a plugin called Blender Animations, but that's just taking it out of Roblox. I still have to get it into Blender, so to do that I got this code that was definitely made by me, and to my surprise it all worked first try. Maybe because I was still following the tutorial. And now it's time to animate. Honestly, I thought it was gonna be a lot more interesting, but in reality all I did was edit these line thingies until the animation looked okay. And this is how it looks in Roblox. And this is how it looks in game. What the f happened? And for the next 2 days I was looking at countless forum posts to find a fix, but nothing seemed to help. And as I was about to give up, I made a final Google search. And there was the solution. I just had to put a 0 in the brackets. Just a 0 in the brackets. You're telling me that I spent 2 days trying to fix this one issue and the solution was right in front of me the whole time? Anyways, after that I made a function that loads all the animations, which is only the equip animation for now. After that I got started on the next weapon, which is, believe it or not, a Shuriken. Because I decided to also have ranged combat, because ranged combat is cool. After that I made a very basic slot changing system which currently has no UI. But guys, I'm still not seeing enough. I mean, the character movement is pretty basic for a cool fighting game like this, so let's fix that. I think it would make sense to start with some sliding. I started by making a pretty wonky sliding animation, and I also made the hitbox for the player because I felt like it. After that I added a linear velocity which is set to plane mode to make sure it doesn't do stuff like this. And before you ask, no, plane mode does not mean airplane mode. It means a 2D plane. Just in case you thought it meant airplane. I definitely did not think that, by the way, because it clearly refers to a 2D plane. Why would it? I also made it slow down when you're going uphill and stuff, which I did by keeping track of the Y position of the humanoid root part and doing some cool stuff with it. But you might notice that it doesn't really feel like I'm sliding when I go into first person, so I just simply made it offset the camera when sliding. But now, let's do some wall jumping. I started by making a hitbox that will be used to detect the walls and stuff. After that, I added some more hitboxes to the walls and made the player's hitbox actually detect them. Lastly, I just added a linear velocity to the player and it was awful, to say the least. It felt way too glitchy. So, to fix it, I added some smaller hitboxes in the hitbox to detect which side the player hit the wall and adjusted the forces accordingly. And it felt much better now. After that, I made some animations and it was done. Now it's time for the last thing, which is sprinting. Honestly, I don't know why I didn't start with this, because it was as simple as just changing the move speed. But you might have noticed that I'm not including the hands in any of these animations, and that's because I'm making this game for International No Hands Day. Just kidding, it's because I'm animating the hands separately. But before that, I had to make the third person versions of the weapons, which I did by doing pretty much the same thing I did in the previous videos. Now, for the animations, I just kinda made them, but I had to make sure that I only added the hand. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for, beating the shit out of dummies. I started by making these attack animations and they're not the best, but they work for now. For the third person animations, I just reused the old animations. I wouldn't call it laziness, it's more like efficiency. After that, I updated the animation loader to include the attack animations. But you might notice that there's no camera shake like in Blender. But believe it or not, it's once again in the same tutorial. It's definitely a bit too much, but it's fine for now. After that, I made another hitbox that gets added to the character when the player equips a weapon. And to damage the dummies, I just made a function that returns the dummies that should be damaged. Lastly, I took the VFX and the animations from the old game and this is how it was looking. Now onto the shurikens. This is the animation. As you can see, it has two main parts, a throwing part and a reloading part. So I added some animation events that tell us when they happen. After that, I made the shurikens invisible when the throwing happens and visible again when the reloading happens. After that, I did the same thing with the third person animation and this is how it was looking. But now it's time to actually throw the shurikens, and thankfully there's a very useful module that helps with just that. Except I don't know how to use it. But believe it or not, my boy Zara has a tutorial on it, so I just followed it and it was working very well. Except I wanted it to only be able to hit the big red hitbox of the character. And to do that, I made this abomination, and I know that I shouldn't be looping through the workspace like that, but I'm gonna improve it later. But it's a bit weird that even though I'm supposed to be throwing shurikens, I'm just shooting these black beams instead. So to fix it, I stole a shuriken from the hand and did some very complex math stuff. With the help of beer icing. After that, I got some sounds from the toolbox and made them play when different stuff happens. Lastly, I stole the heat effect from the spiky thing and made it red, and the shurikens were done as well. After that, I went back and reduced the camera shake and now it was actually playable. But there's one last thing I wanna do, which is the UI. I started by making the crosshairs, a smaller one for the spiky thing and a bigger one for the shurikens. After that, I put them into a folder in replicated storage and just cloned them when equipping a new weapon. After that, I made a bar that shows the player how much they need to wait before attacking again. And to better communicate that, I made this sword icon and put it next to the bar. And that concludes this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, because if this video gets 100 likes, I'll make a fourth part. And you can also leave your suggestions in the comments. Oh, and did I say like and subscribe?